to say on this screen? And Sherry said, should I turn on the lights? It's like, oh yeah, let's do that. All right. Often when I'm introducing the sermon, I'll introduce it with a reading or a quote. And today I want to do something like that. I want to introduce it with this lovely handmade thank you note that we received from Union. And this is what she had to say after her last week as a pianist with us. She wrote, and she named a bunch of people to start with. We won't go through all that. But she wrote, I want to thank you all for making my Sundays very special for the past couple of years. I am so glad that I was able to grow and to meet everybody in the church. My only regret is not participating and being more involved with this community sooner. I have loved playing at this church and have never met a group of people as caring and accepting as you. Thank you for everything, and I hope to visit as often as I can. Now, my friends, that is community as it's supposed to be. That's what we're talking about today in Hebrews. That's what happens when mutual love continues and hospitality is provided. It helps us to be our best as a people. Jesus calls us to love abundantly, to be hospitable always, as reflected in the Hebrews passage today. The world around us is desperately in need of love, and I don't overstate anything when I tell you that. I say that with great confidence. People everywhere are suffering private battles, private losses, and they're doing it in most cases behind the scenes where you don't see it. This is not an individual calling either. We live in a very individualistic society. This is a communal calling. Jesus called us to be in community together. That's where we are strongest, when we work together as a team, and to love in that community together. The whole church community, the Christian community, should be one that pursues peace with everyone. You find that in Hebrews 12:14, and to love one another in community so well, making it such a habit amongst you that it ends up overflowing the walls of that community and goes out into the greater society so that people notice. In much the same way that everybody noticed that Tom Hagen ran every single day, no matter what, and it impacted them, it inspired them. Love can do the same thing, and on an even grander scale. It's a real cup runneth over sort of moment. Being hospitable is part of being loving in a brotherly and sisterly fashion, with a brotherly and sisterly affection. It's a way to make people feel welcome. We'll soon get a chance to be hospitable and loving again, because we've got a new pianist coming in, Jennifer, who's going to take Union's place for weeks. And she's in the same situation that Union was in when she started with us, a high school student, who will be learning how to play for people singing, which is an interesting skill to pick up. And she's a very talented pianist, but she's going to pick up that skill, and we have a chance to be hospitable and loving and help her along the way so that she can feel much as Union did when she is with us. This should be a joy for both us and for her as we keep helpings of hospitality upon her. We're living in a world that's in a defensive crouch. We're living in a world where people are fearful of what comes next, and so they're protecting themselves from whatever that might be. Jesus tells us to fear not. The Bible says it over and over again, do not be afraid. And Jesus said it himself. Stand up, be a light in the darkness. Get that light of yours out from under your basket. There is no time to hide. This is not a time to be in a crouch. This is a time to be loving and hospitable and warm cold and fearful world, that we might warm the hearts of the people around us, drawing people here like a warm fire welcomes cold people on a winter's night. Hospitality means having the door open too, so that those people can get close to that warming fire that is the love of community that we have here. Hospitality means avoiding the desire of many churches to focus solely on themselves. This is part of fear. This is an interning that happens when people are afraid, focusing on trying to perfect the service for the chosen few. What programs should we involve? What music should we use? And leaving the community outside the walls. Keeping desperate people away from the source of love that they so desperately need and that Jesus wants us to share. Because when you don't, churches fail. The hospitable church works outside of its walls. It's an amazing thing, too, because time and time again, churches that end up doing this, they say, I never believed this would be true. I didn't think this could possibly happen. But this church now, as we're bringing in more people, and they're more diverse, and they've got different ideas, and they come from different backgrounds, this church feels more like home than any place I've ever been. It's truly amazing. In fact, there's one church that has a rule. Every time we reach 75 people, we'll spawn off another church because they outreach to so many people. I think they were up to 5 the last time I heard, because people are so desperate to be welcomed and to have hospitality and love. And it's also, there's an interesting reminder there in Hebrews. It says, remember now, when you're hospitable, you may be entertaining angels that you're not knowing about. And that's something that should stop you in your tracks. That's something that should make us all think. Because in part, it's also a reminder. It's a reminder of that Old Testament story, wrapped up in fear and sin, about 2 towns that were very well known, very prosperous, a big deal back in their day, but they were incredibly inhospitable. And they did not welcome the angels that came amongst them. And they are no more. You know their names, Sodom and Gomorrah. We don't want to be like that, and that's something we're being reminded of in those scriptures. Some would say that since Jesus identifies so closely with the poor and the needy, the outcasts and the homeless, that hospitality to strangers, to the poor, the needy, the outcasts, and the homeless is actually possibly entertaining Jesus unawares. Now that really ought to make us stop and pray. Imagine that. Perfecting love and hospitality also means avoiding something. Something is arrogance, and arrogance is floating around in the air in this society today, and it's dangerous. It's everywhere in modern life. People are glorifying themselves at the expense of others. They're ruining relationships at every turn because they're seeing people around them as merely tools that they can use to get ahead, and as soon as they've got ahead, they just drop them at the wayside. They don't see them as the unique and valuable individuals that they are, that are loved by God. And they're not loving them in return. Proverbs warns that arrogance yields nothing but strife, and that God has no appreciation for human arrogance. One of the most dangerous aspects of arrogance is that when a person spends too much time admiring themselves and their own accomplishments, they forget how much they need other people to get anything done, and start believing I did it all myself. Churches that get into that position where they no longer feel they need anybody else, they will fail because volunteers are absolutely essential. That influx of new people is a must for any community that wants to remain healthy and survive. We are always dependent on others. It's one way to diffuse arrogance, is to remember that we did not birth ourselves. Teachers educated us, pastors have guided us spiritually, in life and in growth. Artists and factory workers clothe us. Truckers and train crews and airlines bring us the goods we buy from the grocery stores. And on and on and on. So loving others, showing hospitality to them, reminds us that we need each other desperately. And sometimes Somebody needs us because things have taken a tough turn, and at other times, you can be darn sure you're going to need them because life is a circle that way. Sometimes you're doing great, sometimes you're doing horribly, and we need to lean on each other so that we know that we've got somebody we can depend on when things get tough, and that we're given an opportunity to help when we're in a good position, and that's a wonderful feeling as well. We have Grandma's closet for this now. It can be used by anyone who's having a tough time. It's got toiletries in it. It's got everything in it that the SNAP program doesn't allow you to buy at the grocery store. From toilet paper to soap to, deodorant, you name it, it's there. And if you're in a desperate situation, if you're in a tough time, use it. And when the times are better for you, donate to it so that somebody else who's having a tough time can use it too. It's love. It's hospitality. It's growing the community. It's getting stronger. And we all know that we're all going to have hard times sooner or later. No one is going to be excused from that. Mark Twain said about arrogance, a very pithy thing. He said the idea of the self-made man is like the self-laid egg. It doesn't exist. Arrogance is presumptuous and it is false. It's a way to forget life with others and to deny yourself the beauty of that life. And it's worse because it's a way to forget love, to deny yourself love. And how awful, how tragic is that? To do such a thing. It's a warning here. There's a warning about this in that one of the first ways that Christian communities start to break apart is when the brotherly and sisterly love begins to end. It begins to ebb when arrogance starts to sneak in like an evil spirit that starts whispering in your ears that you don't need your brothers and sisters, you don't need that community, you can go it alone, you can be by yourself. And once you start down that path, it doesn't end there because sooner or later it gets to, and I don't need Jesus. And at that point, you're not even a Christian anymore, you're not a Christ follower. And it's a dangerous path to go down. It's a way of denying yourself all sorts of support and all sorts of help that we need all our lives long. And with that ebbing of hospitality, that ebbing of love, comes that death of hospitality that goes right along with it. You can't love others if you don't love yourselves. If the community doesn't love itself, you can't reach out and love to anyone else either, and that's a diminishment of the church and of the community around the church as well. In biblical times, hospitality in churches extended to wandering evangelists like Paul and to desperate refugees who've been driven from their homes by persecution, mostly persecution against the Christian faith. Today, there are many different people who need our hospitality in many different forms to meet an amazing level of need all around us. Saw an article recently in the Philadelphia Inquirer that resonated with a problem we have in this area. In this area, there's a big problem with the school to prison road. There's a lot of that going on today, especially when you have for-profit prisons in the area that need to get more people in and don't necessarily need to get them out. So,